Alright. See if anyone pops in. This is not going to be the usual stream, not by a mile. Why not, though? Have a little bit of fun. Let's see. Uh, Can find Polaris. Hey, Hippie 420, how you doing? Can you hear me okay? This is a little unusual for my normal streams. Just want to know if people can hear me all right. Okay, so if I could, maybe I could do a shot like that. There's Polaris up there. Let's see here. Hey, SJ. How y'all doing? Rafa's in the house. No, I'm down in the valley right now. Trying to do some long exposure night photography. Just real experimental stuff. You're not gonna see it for shit, but not in this lighting. So anyways, my camera's set up. I'm using a new remote trigger app. Let's see how this thing works out. Something I picked up, came across a random company online. But if it works out, it works out. I'll go with it. The tough thing here, yeah, it's a hell of a view up there. I love it. It's Yosemite Falls. I'm actually looking at it right now, but down lower in the valley. I'm trying to photograph it at night. This is a huge challenge because I can barely see the thing, so my camera can't really, it's hard to focus and frame a camera when there's no light. So I'm doing test exposures and like slowly adjusting the camera, trying to get into position. Fire off another one now. And just see how this goes. It's the night before Memorial Weekend. The park's gonna fill up like crazy tomorrow. Right now it's pretty quiet, except the rangers are out like crazy. I'm waiting for them to stop by any minute because they'll probably see my van and think someone's sleeping inside. So technically, you're not supposed to camp overnight in your vehicles. You have to be in a campground or in the hotel. Otherwise, if you're camping your vehicle, you have to leave national park land. That's pretty much all national parks are like that. So this time of night, what they might do is go around. Yeah, a lot of frogs out here. The Merced River is right over there. I can see them on the other road, their lights, and I think they're checking vehicles for people sleeping. So I'm waiting for them to come up behind my van's right here. I'm in front of it. So I'm waiting to see the red and blue lights as they come up behind me. So if you see a bunch of lights flashing, it's probably the National Park Service seeing if I'm sleeping in my vehicle. Typically, when they see you doing night photography, they kind of just leave you alone. You know, 'cause I'm not camping in my vehicle, right? Oh man, I wish live chat would step on. I'm using my iPad right now, guys. Chat options. Chat. Oh, wait, there we go. There we go. I think I have chat figured out. Now I can catch up. I'm messing with the settings on the iPad. Saw the title, click straight away. Thanks, Hippie. Yeah, I took a whole whopping day off work, which I almost got blown to high hell. Try to get down here a day before the park fills up with tourists. How much do you capture for each shot? Not sure if it makes sense, but I've always wondered how you do these. It depends on what kind of shot I'm doing. If I'm stacking photos, it depends on the type. I mean, various stacks I might do for night star trails could be 20, 50 photos, 100. It depends on a lot of things. The lens I'm using, how long the exposure time is. I've actually got this new little device for my camera. So for those of you that know cameras, there's a thing called the intervalometer. It's usually a remote accessory that you use for like time lapse or to remote control your shutter. And I've had a lot of traditional intervalometers, and you can set duration, time frame. They've traditionally been a pain in the ass. Terrible interface. And I actually found one tonight, so it's an intervalometer, but it's run off an app. So I'm actually trying this whole thing out. It's got a lot of features in it. This is a new device I just got. It's really tiny. Hopefully the battery holds up for the night. I guess we'll find out. Check chat here. Someone asked something. So I'm actually trying to capture that waterfall, SJ. I'm down a little bit lower. I'm down the valley. It got pretty freaking cold up there. We hiked back to the car at night. Only a mile. They went back to crash, and so I'm down here lower in the valley, looking up, trying to capture the same waterfall. So this is going to look like ass, but I'll try to show you what I'm getting so far. There it is right there. I'm still working on the framing. I'm just trying to see how it looks when I capture it at night. And I've photographed this during the day. I'm trying to get some stars behind it. Different effect. I gotta see if it's in focus. I don't really know yet. As I was saying, it's really tricky because I can't really look through the camera and align. So what this app has allowed me to do is right now I'm doing really long exposures. I might have to do even longer, but I'm doing 2-minute exposures, which leaves the shutter open for 2 minutes to capture more light. And I've turned the gain, the ISO, up on the camera to 6400 just to speed it up, just so I can get the framing right. And if I get the framing right, or I might be happy with it, then I'm going to bring down the ISO and then bring up the exposure time so I have less noise in the image. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. And it allows me to actually test this app out, which I got just a couple days ago. So it's actually kind of nice to get out of the studio office for a change, get back outside. It's kind of cool up right now in the 50s. I got 2 layers on. You can probably hear the frogs. I'm glad it's cool because otherwise it'd be a buttload of mosquitoes. All right, let me look at my exposure here. Focus is a little bit off. The framing's not bad. Actually, exposure is not too terribly far off. I think I could get the exposure or the focus a little bit better. I'm going to tweak the focus knob and then adjust the framing down on this bugger a little bit more. So this is kind of a new thing. The other night I did like a really poor attempt at doing art on a live stream because I want to get back into sketching. I thought that'd be something I'd do a little more of live streams of me doing creative stuff, whether it's attempting to paint terribly, digitally paint, or take people out on photography trips, because I have my Starlink right there, so I can actually do like these streams and just have a little more creative streams, and maybe do some game streams again, who knows. But right now it just feels good. Bring this down. Ah, dang it, I think I messed this up. Feels good to get back out. As light changes, do you adjust the focus? No, once I actually get the focus, it'll be fine. If the light changes, I might have to adjust the shutter speed. That's about it. So I'm just trying to get the focus down at the moment. I'm shooting with a 70 to 200 mil lens at 70 mil. So I have two lenses. Actually I have three. I got the 7200 on right now. I have a 24-70 I just picked up, and I have a 16 to 28. So let me tweak. Where's the focus knob? All right, so that should be infinity focus. Pull it back. All right. I am right off the road, so you'll probably hear cars go by. Oops. Didn't even do that. Now let's run a test off the phone. So far, this little device is kind of impressing me. I didn't hear anything from the company when I ordered it. It was a German company. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'll do another video later and talk about it. But it has some really cool features, not just for what I'm doing right now, but it allows me to do ramped time lapses. So like I can actually adjust the camera parameters to adjust throughout the course of the day to adjust for exposure. It's also got a apparently a sensitivity trigger for doing like lightning's really tough to photograph. And there's these triggers, and this is supposed to be able to do it, that will detect the flash of light and fire off a burst of shots and try to capture the lightning. I've never been able to really capture lightning well. It's very hard to do. I would watch lightning storms and I would set up a time lapse and just hope I got lucky. Not that I get many lightning storms in California, but if that happens again, I'm hoping to be able to test this good lightning bolts. That'd be really cool. So, man, it's almost completely pitch dark in the park right now. I see like a couple cars driving around. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the other way to maybe capture lightning strikes is if you know there's a storm going, is just record video, like high frame rate video, 60 frames a second, higher, 120 if you can. That was my other option, is maybe capture it like that. Oh yeah, I love storm clouds. We didn't really get very good clouds in the valley today. Right now the sky's pretty clear. I don't know if there's going to be much for clouds all weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay in the park the whole weekend. It's going to fill up a lot. Okay, finished. Let's test it out. I was hoping they would open the back side of the park, Tioga Pass. I spent a lot of time back there, but there's apparently still road damage from winter they're repairing, so they didn't have that ready. We may, depends if we find something to do. If we don't find something to do in the park this weekend, other than photography, we might leave the park and head up to one of the other passes, because the other passes through the mountains are open. All right. What I'd like to get to eventually, if people enjoy these kind of streams, these photography streams, I can't do it with the iPad because the YouTube app sucks. But I'm looking at maybe a setup where I maybe have my MacBook, and so I have like the cam like this, and then I can pump the live feed of the camera in. I'll have a picture-in-picture, so you can kind of see what I'm seeing. Unfortunately, the setup I have right now today just won't do that. I have a pretty good idea how I can make that work. Ooh, that's actually not too shabby. Let me Give me a second. I'll show you guys in a bit. I'm trying to get this to lay out better. But it's something I've been thinking about doing to kind of step up the live streams is give you all a chance to actually see real time what I'm doing. So give me a second. It's something I'm looking at right now. Playback mode. I'm trying to figure out a better way to show you guys stuff. Just this setup right now I have isn't the best. This was a real impromptu thing. I didn't really plan to do this, honestly. I just started messing around. I sat down and I was like, I have a good connection on the Starlink. Why the hell not? Let's just do a random stream for fun. Keep you guys up with me while I'm out doing this. And if the park rangers come over and give me hell, you get to watch that real time. Usually they don't. I mean, I honestly, they're not usually too overbearing. Once they see the camera, if I'm staying off the road, they're usually fine. So we'll see. Let's see here. I was trying to figure out a way I can rotate the image better so you can see it. Oh well. It's not the best, but I'm finally getting it. The camera's tilted, that's why you're seeing it, because I'm doing it portrait mode. But I'm capturing most of the waterfall and a little bit of the sky. I think I might see how that works. $8:30 here. It is, what the hell is it? It's 12:30. So yeah, I can see the waterfall too. That might work. How's the focus look though? Did I nail the focus or I still have to adjust? Oh man, it's hard to say. It kind of feels like maybe I did get the focus. Some details look fairly decent. Feel like, let me check the ring. Pull it back a hair. I'm gonna do one more test. One more test, see how this bugger turns out. Get my app out. Oh, okay. Let's see how it goes here. It is nice out here right now. Just hear frogs and waterfalls. So peaceful. Yeah, I get really fed up, hippie, with California sometimes. The prices and some of the people that run the state. What's hard to leave though is this state's got some of the best national parks I've visited. Some of my favorites. I don't know if I can actually move. If I leave California, I might just go over the border and live in Nevada. I'm actually considering that. That will keep me fairly close to the parks, like Yosemite and Death Valley. I love Death Valley. It is not just a big desert. It's one of my favorite places to go during the winter, not during the summer. And Nevada would put me a little bit closer to Utah. I love the national parks in Utah there. I have so much fun. Yeah, I do like snowboarding. Past few years, we haven't really made it out. Uh, Not that there wasn't snow, there was actually too much snow. Every time snow hit, it didn't like just snow, it just pounded on the mountains. I mean, I have a four-wheel drive, and I grew up in Michigan in the snow. I can drive in the snow. The problem is you get a lot of city people come up from the city, uh, and they don't know how. They're putting chains in the wrong tires. They don't know how to control their vehicles, or they're causing wrecks all the time. It's just infuriating. And so, even though there was a lot of snow the past few years in the mountains, we didn't go snowboarding. It kind of broke my heart. I really enjoy it. Well, not for me, but too much snow for other Californians. If that makes sense. Too many Californians, too many people in the city that don't know how to drive in the snow. I mean, I wish I could count the times where I've seen some dumbass blocking the driveway to the ski resort in his sports car, like a Dodge Charger. No chains. Actually, one guy, he had chains in the front tire, which didn't make any sense. Spinning out. He's got his little snow bunny girlfriend in the back trying to push. It's like, dude, just stop. It's embarrassing. All right, there's a test. Let me check out the. Oh, I think that actually is mud. Okay, I think I got the focus. That will be hard to actually show you if I pick up the camera. Um, 'Cause I'm just using an iPad right now. But if I do this other setup I'm thinking about, where I just have a laptop and then I got a video feed from the camera, you'll be able to see this kind of stuff a lot better. So I'm actually looking forward to maybe trying that some night. But I actually think I got something here. So it's a little bit underexposed. So I bring it down, say 64. Give me a second. I'm doing some math in my head here. 64. Where am I at right now? 6,400. So I go 3,200. It's a stop. 16, 8, 4, 2. That's about 5 stops. So if I bring it down to 200. So now I'm going to try a real test. Let's see here. Bring the ISO down to 200. So my gain is at 200. And so how much time am I going to suppose for? 4 seconds, 4 minutes, 8 minutes. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. I might have to stack these, so I wonder if I do a bunch of stacks. I'm thinking out loud here. I might have to like time lapse this and maybe in post stack the photos later. And do it like that. It's like maybe like a couple of 5-minute ones. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think I'll do something like that. So I'm going to create a new folder on this camera. Now, this kind of thing I haven't done before, so this is really new for me. All right, so I'm going to create a new folder. Create a new folder. All right. It'll help me just want to go in the SD card later and better organize all the images. So I'm going to do that. I can't. You want trigger, bulb mode. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this manually. All right, so I'm going to try this out actually. Sorry guys, if I'm quiet for a second. I'm just kind of thinking to myself if I got the right settings for this. You know what? I'm gonna try a 10-minute exposure, just see how this looks. I'm gonna go 10 minutes, and then if I do anything too crazy, let's see, because I'm still kind of experimenting. So bear with me, everyone. Because I'm getting used to this new device and what it can possibly do for me. So I'm going to go with this setting right here and 10-minute exposure. Let's see what happens. Oh, man. I taught snowboarding at Lake Louise. I'm not familiar with that one. Yeah. Well, you're not the only one. I mean, I've had to do it as a career, and I still struggle at organizing files because I think I overthink it. Like, I'm never happy with what I do. Well, I'm gonna try them and see what it looks like. So it's going now. Sometimes this would make the camera pretty hot. I don't have a defogger on the lens. I don't know if I need one right now. It's not that cold out. Sometimes when you're doing this kind of stuff, I should keep an eye on the lens. So what happens is when you're doing long exposures, lots of them, the sensor, a lot of cars got busy. The sensor being on starts to warm up. That warmth starts to push through the lens, and then the optics will warm up. Now, the problem is if it's cold enough outside, that can cause your glass to fog up on your lens, which sucks. I don't actually have them with me, so I shouldn't try to do too long of exposures, but you can get these lens wraps that you wrap the lens in and you plug it into a USB, and it keeps the lens optics warm, so you don't have that clash of cold glass and the warmth from the sensor fogging. And those I have a couple of them actually. And the other cool thing about those things is, because I have two, you can actually wrap your coffee mug in one if you're out shooting at night, and plug it in the USB, and it will help keep it a little bit warm. Not terribly hot, but it can help it slow down from getting cold. Oh man, so yeah, this will be fun. Do a 10-minute exposure. Actually, I'm not too worried about it, to be honest. The car's going behind me. Since I'm pointing up towards the mountain, the waterfall, they're going off in the park, and the way the roads route, there's actually really no interruption. The road here in Yosemite Valley, it does loop around, but the loop is way over there on the other side of the river. Like, I'll see little glimpses of the headlights of the trees as they drive through, but for this case, it's probably not an issue at all. I'm not really too worried about it. Other cases, yeah. Definitely been other scenarios trying to do long exposures. And actually, the friend I was with today shooting, we were in Yellowstone a few years back. Actually, a long time ago. 7 years ago. We found a cool spot at night, and she wanted to do a long exposure and photograph it. And I was in a different spot. It was hilarious because every time she would start shooting, headlights would show up, and I would hear her cussing like from over the hill. It just, bah, bah, bah. She was like trying for like 2 hours. I was actually laughing at her about it the other day. 2 hours trying to get this photo, and literally every time she tried, a vehicle showed up and ruined the shot. I remember she comes stomping back in the snow, mad as hell. I'm ready to go. Oh, that's a good memory. I mean, sometimes I think the memories made out doing this kind of photography is not so much like getting the picture; it's just the some of the experience. And that's what's good about being back out here again. The sky's beautiful right now. I think I see a bit of the Milky Way up there. I used to do a lot of Milky Way photography, astrophotography, but focusing on only the Milky Way. I haven't done it much lately. It got a little redundant after a while, to be honest. It's always like the same thing. You had a foreground, you had the Milky Way. Foreground, Milky Way. Now, the first few times you do it, it's fun. I'll admit it. Like, if you ever want to try astrophotography, there's kind of two types. The sweet and easy, the simple one, is just to get a wide angle lens and try to capture the Milky Way. Which is pretty easy to do, as long as the moon's not out. And it's fun the first time you do it. I don't want to discourage people from doing it. But then after you capture the Milky Way so many times, it's like, okay, what do I do now? I have the Milky Way. Well, then you try to change up the foreground. You try to find interesting places that are positioned correctly so you can capture the Milky Way behind it. And I think that's still pretty cool. Or if you can find like a lake, like a calm lake, Lake Tenaya up here in Yosemite. I don't know if I can find that, but me and a friend were shooting that one night. We're shooting the Milky Way over at Lake Tenaya. And it was, I wouldn't say mirror calm, it's reasonably calm though. We had some of the reflection of the Milky Way in the lake in the photos, and that was really cool. But for me, at some point, shooting the Milky Way got just redundant. It stopped being a challenge. It's basically just a 30-second exposure, point the camera at the sky, set a 3200 ISO, set your focus to infinity. Now, the other type, which I'm trying to get into, and I have the gear, but I haven't really mastered it, is using star trackers. So you can use longer lenses and start capturing constellations or just tighter framing of the Milky Way. And what star trackers do is you have to do an alignment with them. There's a lot pre-set up. You have to locate the Polaris North Star, align it, and when it's aligned, you have to go through some calibration. Once it's aligned, though, what it will do is it will does a couple of cool things. You can actually go in the app and you can punch in, tell it to go to a certain star, and the thing will like turn and point the camera toward a certain star or a cluster. It was really cool. But when you're doing live exposures, it will auto-rotate the camera to keep pointing. And why that's important is there's a general rule of, it's called the 500 rule. And what that means is you take 500 and you divide it by your focal length. So commonly if you're shooting 14 millimeter for astrophotography, that means around 30-second exposure. And the reason of that is because the stars are moving. Actually, the planet's moving, right? So if you do an exposure for too long, you will get star trails, basically motion blur in the stars. So what happens is if you shoot with a longer lens, right, say the 500 rule, and I'm shooting with a 500 millimeter lens, 500 divided by 500 is 1 second. I can only do a 1 second exposure, which it won't be enough to capture the stars. So how do you capture the stars or a star constellation with a 500 millimeter? That's what the star tracker does. The star tracker will keep the rotation so you can do a 30 second, 1 minute exposure with a really long lens, and it will keep it aligned with that star constellation, and you won't get any motion blur in the stars. So that's how those people, those other types of astrophotographers that get like nebulas. I follow a few of them. I talked about them in a recent live stream. That's how they capture like nebulas, and even like Neptune or like some of the other planets up there. And it's that stuff is really cool. It is a lot more work. It's definitely knowing the tools a lot better. I need more tools. It is longer nights out here under the stars, which isn't a bad thing. But it is, yeah, it's 25 through here. These people aren't doing 25. Um, and that's something I have pretty much, I think, all the gear for. And I've gone out a couple times and I tried and I failed miserably. There is a learning curve to getting used to it. So, all right. Exposure. All right, so it's a little on the dark side, but it's doing something really kind of cool. It's not going to look great. I'll have to show you all later, upload the pictures, but this isn't too bad for being 10 minutes. I need to go around and make sure the lens is not fogging up. Give me a second. I don't know if I pushed it with that 10 minutes. And I bumped the tripod. That's brilliant. Nope. Lens looks good. Okay. Okay, coming back in frame here. So what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something completely brain farted. But anyways, yeah, I'm hoping to actually get out. And also, the other thing I want to do is, I don't care, hippie. I mean, there's only a few people in chat. You're just having fun anyways, and not like actually spamming shit. So yeah, I want to do more in-depth astrophotography. I like to maybe do some streams about doing that. You can hear me cuss and complain as I screw up my shots. Also, I want to get more into like the light painting. Don't know what that is. It's where people take colored lights and through long exposure photography draw. There's a guy called Darius Twin. If I could, I'm using the YouTube app right now, which sucks. I'd post his YouTube channel and his website, but he does a lot of really cool stuff, like drawing characters and such, and that's something I've always wanted to experiment with. I thought that'd be fun to do as well on live streams. Okay, so that's not too terrible. Because I'm doing 10 minutes, it's really hard to show you guys. I'll try. All right, you might be able to see how the, where's the camera for the iPad? There it is. How the stars are blurring and twisting like that. Now, normally you don't want that, but it's not always a bad thing. There is another thing people do in astrophotography called star trails. They intentionally blur the stars. And that's done by pointing you might have seen this online where all the stars are spiraling around a center point in the sky. I've done that a couple times myself. How that's done is just simply locating Polaris, the North Star, because the way the stars are going to turn, they're always going to rotate around Polaris, in the northern hemisphere at least. I think it's different in the southern hemisphere, what they have to use. But northern hemisphere, we use Polaris, the North Star. And what people like to do is intentionally blur, get that radial blur of the stars, and they stack the photos together, and so you get this big spiral effect. And if you're ever kind of curious, I mean, I'd show you, but we're not a normal stream. Just look up astrophotography star trails, and you'll see the effect I'm talking about. It's pretty cool. It's not too, honestly, not too terribly difficult to pull off. So if you're ever, curious in photography to try, you don't really need any special tools. In fact, the software that so you could do it in Photoshop. There is actually a stacking software a lot of astrophotographers use, and I use it myself. That's completely free, called StarStax. That makes it completely for free, distributes it. I think it just takes donations, but pretty much about everyone uses it. So what I think I can do here is maybe do that. Is I'm going to pull out here, look at the scene. If I might angle the, I'm trying to get the camera back up a little bit, because I want to capture in like the bottom 2/3 the waterfall, and then maybe in the top third of the frame have intentional star trails. That might be a cool effect. Yeah, why not? But I gotta do some reframing to pull this off, so. Okay, so we know that. I need to bump up the ISO so I can shorten the exposure time so I can do these tests and get the framing right. Oh, no problem, man. No problem. Thanks for stopping in. I am having a lovely evening. Thank you. I'm actually having a lot of fun. All right, so let me do a little adjustment here. All right, bring the camera, angle it. Let's go back to 2-second exposures. Save some time, or not 2 seconds, 2 minutes. So far, I'm liking this little device in this app. This is a hell of a lot easier than what I've worked with in the past. Now, what was the name of this company? This is, I'll just say it right now, is a Onnoa, ONNOA.DE. Can I type that in the chat? Okay. No, because I'm using the stupid freaking, I hate the YouTube. I hate the app on iOS. I don't know how YouTube drops the ball so hard on this app. But ONNOA, I'm going to talk about this more in a later thing. So, where was I? Bulb mode, 2 minutes. Let's fire off another one and see how it looks. Ooh, it's definitely getting a little bit cooler. It's 1 a.m. right now for me. That does sound great, though. The frogs, the waterfall. I wish I could show you guys more. If I turn the camera around, you're not going to see anything but a black wall. I can try. I don't know. You're probably not going to see a damn thing. Not the night sky, but can you? Probably can't see anything. Yeah, that's what I thought. You can probably see some white dots. It's about all the iPad can do. Technology is amazing these days. You can actually, I think just a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought I could actually do a live stream from Yosemite Valley like this. So our toys have come a long ways for sure. Glad I did this though. Oh, bad. I want to jump on and do some more stuff this past week after I did that first stream where I was trying to paint poorly. It's like, yeah, I want to do something. I want to do something. Man, every time something came up at work, just whole damn thing fell apart. And my framing is kind of off there. I got the focus, so I just got to fix the framing. I don't know. What do you all think? If I want to include the stars, maybe just kind of split it, go 50-50. Because right now it is kind of 50-50. You know, 50% stars, 50% waterfall and landscape. Now if I do the spiral effect, it'll be easier to see it all. I think I'm going to keep it the way it is. I think I'm going to keep it the way it is. Why not? Why not? And I got a little bit of room. I can crop it in later, I guess. Yeah. I'm actually going to go for it the way it... Oops, no, not that, not that. Okay. Well, that is going to be the plan now. I think 5-second exposures be the way to go. I'm going to do this manually because I can't time-lapse bulb mode. So, on cameras, most cameras, not all the same. When you just start doing long exposures, you know, getting over a second, a lot can go like up to 60 seconds, 1 minute. And like the case of Lumix cameras that I use, if you want to go longer than 1 minute, you have to put the camera in called bulb mode. And what bulb, B-U-L-B, means you have to either hold the shutter button with your hand, which then you risk shaking the camera, which isn't great, or use like a traditional, like old remote trigger, like intervalometer, which I do have. Mine's not working right now, but still a pain. You have to sit there and hold a button. Or in this case, I'm using this app for this new device that I got that's plugged in, which is great because then I can just dial it in on the app and hit start and let it work. It's pretty awesome. I think this is actually the way I want to go. I do want to do 5 seconds. And I think that should be enough. If I stack it, it should be enough to bring out the landscape details. Enough for the, not 5 seconds, I keep saying seconds when I mean minutes, I'm an idiot. I'm trying to figure out what the overall setting is going to be before I start firing this off. But basically what I'm saying is kind of straight off there on the bulb mode thing. So a lot of cameras, when you're doing time lapses, you can set the time lapse, you can set the shutter duration and all that. A lot of these utilities, you can't do a time lapse in bulb mode. So that means you can't do an automatic time lapse. Is a better way to put it. You have to do a manual time lapse, which means I have to sit here and manually hit the button to fire it off. And I guess that's what I got to do. You know, sometimes it's not always a easy feature workflow. You got to work for it. But that's fun though. I enjoy this. So let's take the gain. I'm going to take it down to 800, see how this looks. Now let's go do just a 5 minute. I could probably actually do longer because, you know, that 10 minute didn't fog anything up, but Let's have a look-see. What's going on here? Now, if this works, once I figure out the exposure, I got to do what's called a black frame. So a lot of these cameras have what's called a long exposure noise reduction, LNR. And so when you do a long exposure, let's say 10 seconds, what it will do is it will shoot for 10 seconds, and then it will shoot a black frame for 10 seconds. The black frame is when you do long exposures, because you kind of heat up the sensor, you get this digital noise from the hot spots. It bakes in your image and it gets really, makes it noisy, not so desirable. And what cameras have for built-in long exposure noise reduction is they shoot the long exposure, and then they do a blackout basically, which is they close the shutter, but they still run the sensor for the same duration, like say 10 seconds. And they do is it captures an image of the noise profile that's being created for that camera with those particular settings. And then what it does, it takes basically the noise profile, which is going to be just the noisy pixels, and it merges that with the original image, and any overlapping pixels that have the same value, red, green, blue, RGB value, it resolves those, removes those. So you don't get the noisy graininess. Now, when you're doing pretty much a long exposure time lapse, it's not recommended or practical to, hey, Mars Monkey, oh, no problem. It was a real impromptu thing I did, like for 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't even plan this. I didn't plan this one, actually. I'm not sure how well it's streaming from my phone from where I was at. This complete random thing. But thanks anyways, man. I'm not worried about it. That's why I didn't keep the stream on long, because it seemed like some people had a hard time viewing the video until later. But anyways, when you're doing a time lapse of long exposure, you don't want a time lapse with long exposure noise reduction on, because then for every one of your long shots, it's going to then do the black frame remove. And that's not ideal. You'll get gaps in your time lapse. So if you're doing a 10-second long exposure, because of the 10-second long exposure noise reduction process, you're going to get 10-second gaps between each image. I hope that makes sense. It's not a recommended process. So what you can do, though, is shoot a black frame. So when you get your settings figured out, what you do at the start, and you can do one at the end too, is you put on the lens cap, so it's all black, and just take a long exposure. And you're basically manually capturing that noise print image. And then you have that. And when you have that, then you can actually go back and do your time lapse. So then later, when you have your compiled time lapse, you can just take that one single black frame, that's the noise profile, and I think it's a different, I can't remember the overlay thing you can do in like Photoshop or Resolve, and that will clean up the noise for you. So that's a step I'm going to have to do, because I will have a little bit of noise in this. I'm actually surprised the Rangers haven't shown up yet. Though I saw a lot, and face change to get the noise out, like music, yeah. There's a lot of tricks to deal with the noise, right? It's like music and cameras, the ISO, the gain. It's that digital noise phenomenon. It's always a tricky thing to deal with. But, less these days. Man, kids coming into it these days, Mars, they got so easy. Tools are so much better. Yep. Very true. Okay, that's not too bad. That might work. Oh man, I might need to go more though. It's kind of dark. Like it's not quite brightening up the landscape. So this is with, I did 5 minutes, I believe. Yeah, 5 minute exposure. F4.5, ISO 800, which I don't want to go any higher. You know, though, I could actually speed this up a bit, this lens. I'm going to do that. Because I'm shooting at f4.5 and I can go up to 2.8. I'm going to test that. I don't really want to go over 5 minutes. I want to do a series of 5 minute stacks. I think that will actually help out. It's good to get this lens back out, the 7200 f2.8. That's the Lumix version, but I've had the same style lens for other cameras in the past, like Canon. The 7200 2.8 is one of my all-time go-to favorites. You can use it for portraits. It's a big lens. You can actually do wildlife with it. Believe it or not, you don't need like an 800 mil to do wildlife. You know, if you're doing birds, yes. But I've done a lot of great wildlife with the 7200. I actually like it for landscape. I use more long lenses than wide lenses for landscape. There's a misconception that if you're doing landscape, you should always have a wide lens. Now, there's a time and place for it, believe me. But that's a common mistake a lot of people new in photography make. I'll get into that maybe in another video. For me, like the two best all-around lenses is the 24-70, which I finally got one for my Lumix today. Have it down in the bag. And the 7200, both f2.8. It's still a go-to for me for so many use cases. Oh, there's the comments here. But it is getting colder. But playing Alien Isolation, I needed a break. How is that? Is that a new game? You know, to be honest, I've said before, I love like the Alien movies, the originals, the first two. I don't think I've ever played an Alien game. Maybe there was one on like old Sega Genesis or N64 I played a long time ago, maybe, but I don't remember it. An idea to make an integrated camera system for UFO hunters? That's cool. It's good to play with my cameras again, man. Oh, it's like the movie? Oh, it's like a movie. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll try out an Alien game sometime. You know, I'm mostly an open world kind of guy, and I doubt there's a open world Aliens movie, though. That would probably be pretty sick. Oh, man. Whew. Cold night for sure. It wasn't like in the 50s. I was here like 2 weekends ago. It didn't get that cold at night. So I'm actually kind of surprised it is what it is right now this evening, especially with it June being around the corner. You know, this Memorial weekend. I thought it'd be a little bit warmer. So I'm, to be honest, like I'm sort of not properly prepared with my clothing. I had a light jacket and this hoodie I have on right now, and hope that doesn't muffle the mic too much. Let me know. I'll try to move the mic around. Actually, I'm gonna try it right now. Give me a second here. It's probably gonna look weird on the video, but there we go. It's right here. Actually, I should put it on the other side so it doesn't look so freaking weird. Give me just a second, everyone. And also, thank you everyone for stopping in so late at night on such a random, unplanned stream. Damn thing's not hooking into my hoodie. Okay, I hope this. Okay, I think I got it to a better spot. Sorry for the noise. I'm adjusting my microphone. It's probably annoying as hell to listen to. Yeah, my idea was to have a large concave lens that scans the entire horizon using GPS to control a similar lens with super focus to zero in on moving targets in real time via software while recording. Damn, that sounds like a hell of a project, dude. I don't know much about lenses. I learned a little bit when I did the tech startup world. I worked at a tech startup that right before I joined, they had brought a 360 camera to market. It didn't do well. It's called the Ion 360. I'd pull up if I could. I can't right now on the iPad. The Ion 360 was, so they were the company that figured out the technology. Somebody else licensed it from them and sold it. And yeah, the Ion 360 was a case that you put on certain, they only supported certain smartphones. And as a case you put on the smartphone to turn the smartphone into a 360 camera. And so a lot of people I know, by a lot, it was a very small group, were the ones that figured that out and built it and got the patent. And right after they went to market, that startup kind of folded actually due to conflict with the CEO. And then everyone went and regrouped and made a new startup. And that was the startup that recruited me when I left Lucasfilm. Make sure I didn't lose the microphone. I almost purchased one for the Samsung Galaxies. You know, too bad it didn't really end up taking off. It suffered the problem a lot of products do where they're tied to one specific version of like a phone, like an iPhone. They were planning a second iteration before the companies, the conglomerate kind of went down. I kind of blame the CEO. He still owes me over $30,000 in back pay. Owes a lot of us. But they were going to reformat, and instead of doing the case, it was going to be a accessory that plugged in to the port of your phone, like the USB-C port. And that way, if you upgraded to a newer Samsung or iPhone, you didn't have to get a whole new case, because that was one complaint, and I thought it was a very valid complaint. Because phones change every year. But actually, my former boss that originally hired me at Lucasfilm Animation, who was at that startup, was the one that wrote the stitching code that would stitch it real time, and was actually in Vegas demoing it for Shaquille O'Neal. They finished it the night before in the hotel room. So yeah, I know all the people that were involved in that startup. They actually started when the company started Mars. It's really interesting. A lot of ex-ILM involved. They were actually leasing out an office space at the time in the old ILM building called 3210 Studios, where they're still doing practical effects. Because the company was kind of hurting, they were subleasing out offices to people, and so they actually developed that first prototype in the old ILM building of the Ion 360, and then due to conflict with that CEO, everything flopped, and they rebuilt a new company called FYO Labs, FYO Labs, 5 years out Labs. So they rebranded, new company, hired me. I was happy to try to get out and try something new. And then we set up new offices in a very nice place up in northern part of Novato, California, which is where I was living. And it was one thing that was great. I no longer had to commute to San Francisco ever. I was like, oh my God, because I lived in Novato and I could just drive up the road to work and had a beautiful office and view of the hills, a nice little facility. We were, the two products we were trying to build, I think I talked about this in my previous streams. We had two products. One was going to be, which is now you're seeing it out there, was basically, it was, we were trying to be the first ones to make the glasses to be a display device for like your mobile, basically, so you could read your text messages. And we actually had a kind of some proof of concept with using micro lasers and small mirrors within the lens, just kind of show we were projecting light. We had a rough concept with that. I was working with one of the developers, even though I was like the office manager. I was working on a custom Android app. I was learning all Android programming for the first time. I didn't really know this shit. How to basically screen record an Android canvas and project that out in video over Wi-Fi to the receiver in the glasses. We had some rough concepts. It wasn't polished. But I had a lot of the props from Ion 360, a lot of the early 360 camera concepts in my office. As like when we bring in investors, we'd show them like, you know, kind of the iteration of like, hey, this is the 360 cameras they started with. And yeah, it's not as strict as iOS is a freaking nightmare to develop on, all the way up to the Ion 360 releases. And so we're working on that. And this is like one of the problems I started having at the start, the new CEO, which was he wanted, well, I was told marketing material. He goes, we need some marketing material, like what the UI could look like. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I went around Novato, California with the camera, and I like just recorded just regular video footage, like walking down the street. And then I used After Effects. And what I did was I just composited like text messages or like a Google Maps overlay to kind of give a concept of what Google Maps in your glasses might look like. And we had interest. The NHL was actually kind of interested in the concept. He had got meetings with the NHL. I know because I scheduled them. Meetings with Kaiser. Kaiser liked the idea because the concept was it was just a Wi-Fi. It was like just a Wi-Fi connection. So basically a computer, like any kind of device to this. And so what Kaiser liked is, which is the hospital network in here in California, was the idea that like a doctor could have these glasses on and get real-time information, medical information to their client, like if they're operating, right? They'd get this real-time information feed in their glasses. And because they could have these transmitters all over the hospital with like a central server that controlled them. They had really big idea for it. And the CEO was over-promising of our company. He was over-promising what we could deliver in a certain time frame. And then I was in a meeting in Silicon Valley with him, and he's trying to raise investment. And he takes the concept videos, which I had only made as like a concept of what the UI might look like. And they actually said, this is what we have working. I had to keep a straight face, but I nearly passed the fuck out. I was like, what the fuck? I can't take these lies. We don't. And I was really mad. And they were like, no, this is just how it goes. And I was like, yeah, but they could smell the BS. I could tell the looks on their faces. They could smell the BS. We were also working on a 360 projector. And the concept was you'd have this projector in the ceiling. And the idea is that it could replace like picture frames or TVs. It would, in theory, it would do a depth map projection and figure out the keystoning of your living room. And then you'd have this custom OS where you could lay out like, I want this picture here, I want this thing here and all that. So what we did kind of hack together was we got some lenses and we got some software computers. We kind of just kit bashed this thing that did like a 180. So we had a 180 concept. I wrote a real-time translator that just used the Google Translate API. And we had like a widget on the wall would like translate in several different languages. One thing we did figure out was because in order to have like something that could project on the walls like that, to replace like your television, your picture frames and all that, think Minority Report kind of thing. We were working with like a 10,000 lumen light. That was kind of what we're working towards. And I was like, that's going to burn someone's eyes out. And one thing we did get working was it only could support one person at a time, but it would, we kind of kit bashed some open source hardware and software to figure it out. It would recognize a person, and it would basically block out their head and emit in a black light. So if someone turned around and looked at the projector light, it wouldn't burn out their eyes. We actually had that working. A lot of the other visuals on the wall was all just brute forced, hard coded. So we had some really early concepts, but and the CEO had pulled in some people. He had actually partnered with, yeah, remember you worked at Intel. You told me that. And George Foreman's son, George Foreman Jr., the first George Foreman. So if you don't know, George Foreman named all his kids George. But his oldest was the one that kind of ran the, give me a second here, kind of ran the business for Old Man Foreman, because he had the grill. And he had an office out of Sacramento. And my CEO had met him, partnered with him. And I was trying to get investment money off of him. So I met him, and I was going around Silicon Valley with him. The only time he talked about his dad, because people would ask, hey, is it true that your dad named all the kids George? And he goes, yes. And everyone's like, well, how do you distinguish you guys? So the reason why he named all his kids George because he said he took too many hits to the head in boxing and he couldn't remember all their names. But get this is such a boxer thing. When we asked, how did he identify you all when he was, calling for you? George would say, well, he'd call us by our middle names. I'm like, wasn't it the same as the first name? He goes, I know. He goes, my dad got hit way too many times. No, there was a point where I thought like I was going to hit it big because I was cruising around in a Tesla in Silicon Valley with George Foreman Jr. and Jamie Heineman from Mythbusters, because people in our company had worked with Jamie at ILM, because a lot of the Mythbusters people are ex-ILM, old school ILM. And Jamie had some concepts that of a startup he wanted to get going, and I actually put together pitch decks for Jamie Heineman. And so there was a time before things started to cave in where I was like, man, I'm actually hitting it big. And I'm like cruising around Silicon Valley. I'm with Jamie and George. We're getting like the VIP treatment at these startups. And it was like a point of like, you thought like, this is what success feels like. And then I think what happened was like Foreman and all them started sensing that maybe my CEO was full of shit. And they went quiet. Money stopped coming in. And I was on Thanksgiving trip with my family, and my paycheck didn't post. And I emailed some of my coworkers, I'm like, did you guys get paid? Like, no, we didn't. We can't get a hold of them. And we got like one message saying, oh, there's just a delay. Sorry, I'll get the money out soon. And then there might have been one or two more messages. And then he disappeared for like 3 months. So we spent like 3 months trying to, because I can't get unemployment or nothing because I'm still technically employed. So I had to give it like a few months. I'm sorry, check, see if the Ranger's showing up. And I reached out to the unemployment agency and I said, this is the situation I'm in. Like, I haven't been paid. They're like, well, so you're still legally employed? I was like, yes, technically. They said, but you can prove you have not received a paycheck. I was like, yeah, I have no deposits in my bank. Like, that's probably enough. They said, we've seen this before. Like, you can you can start the process. You might have to, might be delayed start. They'll have to do an investigation. But as I was doing everything, the CEO appears out of the blue via email saying, "Hey, sorry, ran out of money. I know the timing really sucked. The holidays." Um, he's some boo-hoo thing where he goes, "For what it's worth, I had to sell my wife's Maserati, and but I'll go ahead and close up the company so you can all get unemployment. Sorry." Yeah, that's how that ended. And so I pretty much, and I think if you saw my video about going from Star Wars to driving a semi truck, this was one of the big events that led up to it. I left Lucasfilm, did the startup. It really felt like it was going somewhere, right? When you're like, I remember telling my dad, 'cause my dad was a big boxing fan. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually doing business with George Foreman Jr., right? It really felt like, wow, I'm gonna make it. I've really succeeded. I've successfully left the film industry, and I could flip my figure to him and say, look, I don't need you. And then what feels like a drop of a hat, which actually took a few months to watching all that fizzle away. And then as after that when I couldn't find work. Um, I'd been associated with the CEO who was definitely shady. No one wanted to actually return my calls for interviews. And probably about 4 or 5 months after the collapse of the startup, I went from riding around with semi-famous people to trucking school. And that's pretty much what happened in my life. um, it was just a weird chain of events. You don't expect these things to happen. It's a thing like, how could this happen to me, right? It's check my exposure here. I got talking, storytelling here. The things you look back on, just like, how did that backfire so hard? Like, I thought I had life figured out. I thought I had the clout with my work history. And then you realize, like, no one's bulletproof. Doesn't matter where you worked at. I mean, it's, for me, a huge wake-up call. I think this might work, actually. F2.8. This actually isn't too bad. I might actually be able to work with this one, everyone. I think it's just bright enough. If I stack a series of those, I think I can brighten up the landscape enough. Two of my high school buddies started out their own construction business. They hired a guy to be their general manager. He legally stole all the money and ran off. Turns out he was a con artist. Yeah, I mean, I'm careful who I do business with now. Actually, I don't do business. you know, when I got working again, like I just had no interest in the entrepreneur thing. I mean, maybe I'll do my own thing, but there's no partnerships I can do. I have, really bad memories of that. Kind of like coming back, the family looks at you, knowing like what you've done. And I remember telling my wife, or my long-term partner, however you want to put it. I didn't tell her what I was going to do. I didn't tell her after I came back. I was like, sign up for trade school, and she's like, oh, like you're gonna have computers? I'm like, well, they gave up on me. And she asked, well, what do you do? I was like, I'm starting at a trucking school. It's how you know you got a good person when they stand by you through shit like that. I don't think a lot of women I've been with in my life before her would have gone from being someone working on big IP or tech startups and tolerate them gonna go drive trucks. But she actually respected that. She's like, well, it's your choice. Right? I guess things are going to be tough. We got to figure out how we're going to manage this. I was like, yeah, things will be tough for a while. Yeah, I mean, you can actually make a good living. Initially, what I saw in truck driving was, I think in a lot of fields, right? You don't start out making a lot. Um, if I put in a few years, kept my hazmat endorsements, I could have like delivered fuel or whatever, and those guys make pretty good money. And I guess actually who makes really good money, it's a very coveted job, are Walmart drivers. I guess Walmart drivers do fairly well. They have very consistent work, very consistent routes. Walmart takes care of their fleets. They have nice vehicles. The rumors I heard was Walmart's a pretty solid gig. I was at a point where it just felt like, all right, I guess I'm no longer a animation guy. I'm no longer a tech guy. I guess I'm a truck driver. That's happened before, actually. I'll post it sometime. There's a interview with the guy. Worked on Phantom Menace, actually. Worked XILM, 25 years in the industry. Don't know why, but now he's a truck driver. I guess maybe he had a hard time getting work. But it's a podcast interview with him. It came up a few years ago. I'll cover it sometime on the channel and share it. Well, the issue with Uncle now is he acts like he's got it all figured out. Everyone's stupid. Yeah, some people, I mean, I know people like that as well. Something to be said about being humble. When people lose that, it is a turnoff. I think this works. I'm going to try this, though. I'm going to go back, set up my folder here. Do I have a new folder set up? Yes, I do. 121. Okay. Now, where is my lens cap? Give me a second here, guys. Because I have to do the black frame thing. I got to capture that. Fortunately, I won't be able to show you the final product until I get home and do some processing. Even though I have my laptop here, I may not actually get to it until I get back. Okay, one more check, make sure the lens is not fogging up. No, lens actually, I don't think it's too terribly cold out here. I gotta worry about fogging, which is good. I don't have my lens warmers with me. Okay, let's put the hood down here. And shoot the black frame. This is actually kind of fun. This is such a different way of doing live streams. I love changing up on you all. No one knows what to expect out of me, do you? Yeah, we can wait. Yeah, maybe I'll just do a stream when I get back, just kind of show the final result. Man, I can't believe I did not bring a real jacket. Really thought I had the weather figured out. Oh well, that makes it fun. I'm really honestly surprised the Rangers haven't stopped to check on me. But there were a lot of vehicles parked on the park that could have been potentially car campers. So they're probably still doing the rounds. Make sure that my mic didn't fall off. No, mic's still there. Yeah, for those who don't know, it is against the law to sleep in your car overnight in national parks. So when I was out driving around, I saw a lot of vehicles that seemed to be potentially car campers. I think it's kind of a gamble people take. Sometimes the Rangers don't go around and check, sometimes they do. I suspect they would this weekend, with Memorial Weekend. No, I'm not car camping. I'm just sitting up for shooting, but they'll probably come up down the road. They'll probably see the back of the camper van and be like, another one of those camper vans. These guys haven't learned. So I'm waiting. I'm looking out for the alley light or the red and blue lights. Every time I see headlights and they seem to slow down, I'm like, oh, here we go. But I think once they come around, they see me, they'll just be like, oh, okay, what's going on? When I worked for GE, I came. I wish these chats would stay open. But for GE, I came up with a field type pressure sensor and calibrator that could be deployed. It was awesome. Never had a chance to build it. Left 2009. I think you told me about that one time. Kind of sounds familiar. I think we got in a discussion about that one evening in an old stream. Yeah, it's called the can. How many people are on? I got 5 people on. Actually, that's 5 people on. That's 4 more than I expected this late at night. I don't know. I guess some people are probably online late. Just watching me up screwing out the camera in the middle of the night in the national parks. Ooh, man. Actually, I have a blanket in my van. I could pull that out. Sit here all wrapped up. Oh, I should just get up and walk around, actually. That'd help out. What is that? You're saying it was cool. It could perform high pressures of drops of water. It's pretty impressive. This does sound pretty cool. I was out here when people build. That's a lot of stuff I don't understand. Oh man, I always look at other people, like the things they work on. Think, yeah, they're a lot smarter than me. It's weird because like when you tell people, well, for me, when I've told people, it's like, oh yeah, I was a software engineer. They're like, oh, you're a smart guy. I'm like, no, I'm really not. I think this notion that all software engineers are smart. I'm not saying they're all stupid, but I think as people don't understand, there's various tiers of software engineering. We're not all like geniuses that I think everyone thinks we are. You know, if you're just doing high-level coding, stitching together, just writing scripts, stitching together APIs, I think it's much different if you're doing like hardware coding, firmware, kernels for operating systems. That's just pretty genius. Graphics. I have friends that are, graphics programs. They've worked for graphics cards companies, rendering software, Epic Games. If I went for companies that told them I graduated from ITT, they couldn't believe it. Oh, you too? I went to ITT as well. Shitty college, honestly. Actually, no, you know what? The multimedia course, my first degree, I did the multimedia course. That was a joke. That was a real joke. Because because I didn't have a job lined up and I still had some money left over for the GI Bill. Because the GI Bill is the money goes to you. You know, if you want to pay the school or live off it, whatever. I was living off my GI Bill. And so basically, to keep making money, I needed to stay in college because I hadn't landed a job yet. So I went back because I did all the core classes, and I did 1 more year to get a second degree in IT. The IT course, I learned more from the IT course to help me in my animation job than multimedia. To be completely honest. A big part of it was getting comfortable in the terminal. You know, a lot of the big studios use Linux. And so I became, very comfortable working in a terminal. Also, a big part of IT is troubleshooting. And so I had a professor used to work us out. Hold on, I'm setting up the camera right now, so I'm off screen. He used to work our asses big time in labs, and not so much like making us memorize shit. Because he said what's important is you need to know how to troubleshoot stuff. There's other photographers, I think. Other people had lamps on. So we spent a lot more time in the IT course doing actual troubleshooting, which I think was way more relevant, directly relevant to my role working in animation. Because the thing was the animation course, these multimedia courses, the labs are, they give you labs and you follow these steps. Oh, do these 20 steps to do a simple character rig or a simple character animation. And kids would do that. They're like, oh, we do that. And like, now I know 3D, now I know Photoshop, now I know Premiere. And it's like, no, you followed very precise steps with assets given to you, but you still don't understand what you did. There was no troubleshooting in the multimedia. It was following steps. So the multimedia course at ITT was absolutely awful, in my honest opinion. And I was the undergraduate, all A's, because it was easy, because I had already been studying 3D on my own. So much of it I already knew. I already knew my way around Premiere, After Effects, all that. I was like, this is a freaking joke. So it was kind of an easy degree, easy A. I almost felt bad being the honor grad because it was nothing for me. The only challenge I had was algebra, because I had a shitty algebra teacher. And because I'm a high school dropout from a small Michigan town, back when there weren't requirements to take like algebra and stuff like that, there were only requirements to have math credits. So you could just take general math all through high school and graduate back then. So I never took algebra until I was 30 years old at ITT Tech for the first time, and I had a bad teacher. So that I had to work my ass off. But I got through it, and then got to the trig, and I actually had a great teacher who actually really turned my attitude around, and I did decent. Now, when I came back for the second degree, I actually worked my ass off on. Those instructors actually worked us. We had really good instructors who actually worked in the field. The thing was, in multimedia and entertainment, a lot of the instructors that you get were people that could not get jobs, or if they did, they didn't last in entertainment. So it's that kind of that, what's that saying? Those who can't do, teach. And so there was a lot of that. I only had one teacher who actually had any real background, and a lot of students didn't like him because he rolled their asses. Like, he didn't accept anything just saying, oh, it's art, and pass it, because he had worked in ad agencies. And ironically enough, his name was Wayne Newton. We're still friends to this day, actually. But Wayne had worked, and so he wouldn't accept anything as art. He was like, people give him like their art for the Photoshop class. He goes, what is this? He goes, that's my art. He goes, no, you applied a bunch of filters. That's not art. What is the story you're telling? And he would fail students, and man, students hated him. So he was the only one. But when I got to IT, all those teachers, ITT, that I had for my IT course, worked my ass off, and I appreciate it. One of them was a co-author of the Linux book we had for our Linux course. Another one was so damn good at networking. I'm going to start doing my photos here. He did all our networking courses for our Cisco router configuration. He actually had a Cisco tattoo on his arm because he was like the top Cisco guy in his region for a long time. He would just look at what the syllabus, like what the subject title was, and be like, oh, okay. He wouldn't have to like read. He would just start talking on the board and writing. and you could follow in the book. Like, he knew his shit. I was like, damn, this guy knows what he's talking about. He was the one too that said, IT's not about what you memorize, because when we took tests, he let us do open book and let us use our computers, because he said, out in the field, no good boss will ever tell you that you can't look up an answer. He goes, I think it's asinine, especially in this line of work, to expect people to memorize all this tech shit, especially with how much everything changes. He goes, you need to know how to look up the information. So he goes, if you want to call it cheating, call it cheating. I call it getting you ready for the practical world. I was like, damn. He was solid too. Programming instructor I had for basic programming. Older guy who's funny. I'm not sure if you know any of the formats out there like JSON or YAML. His son, so my teacher was Jerry Evans. His son is Clark Evans, the inventor of YAML. And when we were in there, he goes, yeah, my son invented a format called YAML. He likes to use it. And some of us looked it up. And I didn't realize how widespread YAML was. And now it's used all over on like Docker and Kubernetes. So I always hear people at work talking about YAML. I'm like, damn, like Clark's dad was one of my professors in programming. He used to tell stories about how his son, Clark, when he was young, used to snap and get mad. You know, Windows would be like, you have an open bit or whatever. You wouldn't let him close out this open bit so he could eject a floppy disk. And he's just talking about like stories about how his son snapped one time and just forcefully pulled out the floppy disk and snapped it. It's like, there, I closed your bit. Yep. Yeah, made by Clark Evans. His son was Jerry, or dad's Jerry Evans. I don't know if Jerry's still around, but he was a great old guy. Well, what's funny is my networking teacher, the Cisco guy, was ex-Navy. So when he figured I was ex-Marine, we would take shots back and forth. But he was a great guy, though. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. I will say, I think ITT's IT course, not just the instructors, I think that was actually laid out pretty well. They actually used real Cisco books. And our teacher would tell us, goes, no, these are, if you want to get your CCNA, these books that ITT's providing are actually top tier. So I will say, I won't defend that school. They got shut down for a very good reason. They're at fault for a lot of things. But in my opinion, their IT course was fucking legit. I'm so glad I did it. I wish I just did that one. And where the hell is my water at? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I didn't know you went to ITT as well. I still run into other ITT veterans. So what did you say? Oh, you started, the electronic engineering. I just scrolled to read your other posts. Yeah, I remember the electronic engineering, the EE. I think the other one that was kind of a diploma mill that they got in a lot of trouble for, because they, at least at my campus at ITT, was the criminal justice. They had a shit ton of criminal justice. Yeah, they did. So yes, you're right, because I knew, especially in the multimedia section, there were kids that weren't showing up. Yeah, yep, that's right. Seat. Thank you. Now I'm remembering all that now. We had people that were having their parents come in and yell at the dean, and they were changing their grades. I mean, in multimedia, like, you can't fail art, you can't fail creativity, and some of these professors would. It's like, man, you're not setting these guys up at all. They the multimedia group started a club, the art club. Oh yeah. My good friend Paul that I carpooled with, he did the SAP program. I was considering doing SAP and not IT, because but because the schedule of SAP I would have to be delayed like 6 months to start. And to be honest, like I had to keep my GI Bill payments coming in. I needed the money. And like, well, you can jump right in the next quarter on the IT one. I was like, well, that'll work. I'll take the IT one. Yeah, I remember Paul was actually pretty happy. My friend Paul with SAP. He had a lot of challenging projects. It's too bad because I think that school actually had some, yeah, as we're talking about it, some decent courses. And you get some halfway decent instructors. I think students could get a lot out of it. But man, it got expensive. Um, the criminal justice thing was a joke that they're running. I got to fire off another photo here. I got to pay attention to my photos here. What's the other ones? Were there any other ones they were doing? There was CJ Criminal Justice. I think that was kind of a con. At least that's kind of what I got mixed feedback from people on that one. Some people thought it was BS. Other people seem to disagree. Yeah, and then the seat. SAP was good. I thought IT was good. Yes, multimedia was a garbage. No, they didn't want to take it. I'm surprised. They seem to take everyone just to get the money. I had limited options. Being a high school dropout, like, honestly, I think I have 3 credits from high school. I left at the end of sophomore year, never went back. I was a rebel. I got in trouble all the time. I didn't care. I just thought I was going to have to, at the time, I thought my future was get the GED, because at the time the military would take you with the GED. Get the GED and just stay in the military for 20 years. And, well, that didn't work out. Not the way I thought it was going to. So for me, going back to college, not that wasn't an option, but the amount of work I would have to do, because I'd have to go back to high school, I have to get my credits, I would have to get a real diploma. It was daunting. I mean, not daunting, but overwhelming to even consider. And so I can't remember why someone I knew had gone to ITT and they seemed to be okay with it. And like, oh, you should just check it out. I was like, they won't take me. Oh, CAD. That's right. They had the CAD. Shit, man, you're bringing back a lot of memories. Yeah. I remember the CAD guys now, because we had a bunch of multimedia instructors get fired or leave, and some of the CAD instructors had to come over and backfill the multimedia ones. And they were nice people, but you could tell they didn't really know how to help the students on questions. They were like, I don't know 3D Studio Max, I know AutoCAD. Shit, yeah, I remember that's right, CAD. I don't know, was the CAD program good too? That seemed to be another mixed one, I think. I could be wrong. And now I want to get home and look up all the programs they offered. Definitely feel like I took the worst one, though, multimedia. That was bad. Oh, that was bad. I think what makes it worse, though, is students in creative professions. Okay, it was excellent. Okay, so it was good. That sounds like, ITT had something going on. They got greedy and they blew it, though. It's too bad. Okay, the CAD program was the best. Because I remember that was a big one, too, like CJ. There's a lot of CAD students. It's hard, though, when so many students, like, you hear mixed feedback, and you're just like, is it good or is it bad? But, yeah, I remember multimedia. That was, the creative students are just, I'm just going to say it, my experience and based on a lot of my friends that kind of stepped away from animation and visual effects, they went and taught colleges. Well, I know professional CAD people do make good money. Very good money. They complained about students in creative degrees were very entitled. They don't like following directions. I'm an artist, I'm a rebel, but it's like, yeah, but you still have to follow directions. You still have to adhere to guidelines, right? It's how these movies and these TV shows are made. It's not everyone doing whatever the fuck they want. It's not how it happens. I had a lot of very lazy students. I'll be honest, I'm the only one from my graduation class that did anything. Anything. There was one that was behind me that eventually went to worked on golf mobile games. He came out to visit me once. We had an interesting conversation because I went to the ITT in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or they moved it to Wyoming, Michigan eventually. The multimedia students started the art club, and they would just do dopey shit, like they would do chalk drawings out in this on the sidewalks. There's one photo. Do another one. Just really lame stuff. And the one good professor I had, Wayne Newton, he hated the art club because he said he criticized the teachers that were running it, saying you're not helping these kids, these students, not all kids, right? But you're not helping them prepare for a very demanding field, because creative jobs are very demanding. So we started the TD Club, Technical Director Club. And I talk about technical directors. That's what a lot of various roles in the VFX are: cloth technical directors, character technical directors, VFX technical directors, so on. So we started TD Club, where he would play like a client, and like how we kind of role play through. He'd be a client or a director demanding stuff. You'd try to like work through a shot and deliver it, and he would give you some experience he's had in ad agencies. And we got a couple of people showed up to TD Club, but they found out TD Club wasn't fun. It wasn't social hour. We didn't talk about video games. It was a 2-hour workhorse session. And because we didn't have the attendance, the chair said, well, you can't keep the little thing going because you don't have enough people attending. So a few years after I left, I graduated, moved on, and Martin came out and visited me. He was the kid behind me in the graduation class behind me that ended up working in on mobile golf games or whatever. We were having lunch at the studio, and he was like, dude, art club was such a joke. That did nothing for us. I learned nothing from that and gained nothing. He goes, what was the thing that you did? Oh, we had TD Club. And I explained to him what it was. He's like, oh my God, because now he had a little bit of experience. He goes, that would have gotten people ready. I was like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. But man, people, it wasn't just ITT. I have friends that teach at art schools throughout the Bay Area. And a lot of just kids don't want to follow directions. They want to do everything their way. He just said it's a joke. A lot of my friends burned out because you're thinking these kids have an opportunity to learn from people that have, 3 decades of experience working in the industry. And he goes, these kids walk in, have never worked anywhere, and they're already like, I know everything, just give me an A, I'll show up when I feel like it. And they're like, this is not how it works. Like, we're trying to actually share with you what we know. And it said once in a while you get that rare gem that actually like steps up. But for the most part, it burned a lot of my friends out. I don't think I know anyone right now that's still teaching. So if I missed any comments, oh man, I hate the YouTube app. Also, our certifications are way more expensive, hard to get if you're not in union. Oh yeah, I was very fortunate getting the GE job. Had 2 meteorology managers that were making me their apprentice because I saw my potential. The company was sold before I could get certified. Oh, that sucks. I gained so much from the IT course. When I went back, last time, and I met with my one professor, the Cisco guy, and he kind of broke down like how much money that you usually make at the various levels of CCN, the network certifications, the CCNP, the CCNA, all that. He had me pretty much convinced to go for my CCNA, and I actually started working on the CCNA, and I had actually scheduled my first test, and then I got the job offer to go to Lucasfilm, and I was like, network certification, go chase my dream working in animation. I just like, fine, I'm done taking tests, right? So I chose not to do the CCNA. I mean, I don't regret it. It's what happened. So I still had good experiences. I've gotten a lot out of it. This decision I made. But yeah, I almost never went and did anything in film. I was just gonna be like, you know what? Get the CCNA, and I'll just configure routers, or do whatever. Oh man, another ITT person. I didn't know I had one around here. Did you get any money back from that settlement? I got like some small checks. Definitely not what I paid in for student loans. That class action suit against him. You get NIST certified at the time? Oh, nice. Oh, no, I was contract. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember when the news started breaking about ITT. Well, it was, I think the government took away so they could no longer get the federally subsidized student loans. That's where they were making all their money. And government's like, nope, like you don't have to close, but you can no longer get standard student loans, which is more or less how the government shut them down. It's pretty clever. The process of getting hired out and got laid off, that sucks. Man, this is the first time I've done a late night stream like this. Actually, it's the first time I've done a stream like this. This is interesting, though. A lot of fun. Offers way under budget than I deserved. Ugh. Oh. Man. Tomorrow morning, though, sun's coming up, I'm going to lay down and crash before I go back out doing any shooting. I'm just firing off a ton of frames. And I have my laptop here. I might edit them tomorrow, preview it. I don't know. I might just wait till I get home. If I want to do any editing, even though I have my laptop in the van. I'm just enjoying being out. I almost got this one day off that I took, one whole vacation day. Almost got screwed over. Another person made a really bad decision at work right when I was wrapping up on Thursday night, discovered the incident, contact my boss, and he's like, you're not offline yet? Like, go try to have a vacation. Like, because he wants me to take a lot of time off. I just can't. And so something came up, and he was like, okay, give me the information. I gave him the information. He was like, I'll handle it, dude. Like, take that day off. You've been working your ass off. Oh, man. SafeX has had me on his channel live a few times lately. Oh, really? I never knew you went live, Mars. I've only seen you in chat. I get this feeling like he just has me on there to try to cut me down, but it doesn't work. That kind of sucks. I don't really follow Syphax. Like I know he's on DA's channel, but I know he started his own thing, kind of movie reviews. I get a little burned out on all the movie review stuff, so I don't really follow everyone. But I don't think I've ever actually talked to Syphax, even on DA's. I haven't been on DA streams in a long time. No particular reason other than just like, I don't know, I'm busy as shit. Like, I'm not even going on EBN streams right now, which we talk on the side. Like, me and EBN are cool. Coach and I text all the time, actually. I just said, I was like, I'm slammed. You know, if I'm going to do anything, I just want to maybe make time for my own stuff. Oh, YouTube's a weird space. I went up and down. I find people too, when they start getting so many followers, they seem to change sometimes too. I guess that happens. You know, it's human nature. I guess I'm glad I don't grow. I know I did kind of change how I was doing content because of the numbers. It did a weird thing, psychologically. It's like, oh, I should talk about this too, and it's like, didn't really need to. I hope I didn't kick the tripod. God damn it. I'm stretching out my legs since in this chair because my legs are cold. And I think I might bump the tripod. That's going to suck. I got to reshoot a bunch of these frames. That's the end of the show. He goes, hey, Max, still there? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't been able to catch any DA's stuff lately in a while. Comes up and it's like DA stream, and I'm like, fuck, just been hammered. Actually, I think a lot of people, their streams, what I'm just doing right now is I just pop in and just, hey, say hi real quick, maybe super chat them just to let them know, still support them, hope they're doing well. But man, once I got kind of out there and I met a lot of people, and I was like, everyone streams. It's like, you can't make everyone streams. Like, not the whole thing. And I kind of feel bad too, because like I'll talk to someone on the side, like, oh, did you catch, like, someone said this, on a stream the other night. I was like, dude, I can't watch. All of you are having 2-hour streams every night. And like, shit, man. I don't know where you get that time. Yeah, I know, like EBN, they really try to have topics, focus on topics. God, I can't plan for topics worth of shit. That's why I was just gaming. That's why I thought maybe I'd do some of these creative streams where I'm just doing, the photography or trying to draw, and then make that the topic. Yeah, Derek, he does put a lot of work. He's really into it. You can see it. You can definitely see it with Derek. I couldn't really do those kind of streams. I don't have the time to prepare for it. I mean, I'm not saying a lot of those guys have tons of free time. I don't know where they find time sometimes. I know I don't have it. That's the thing, like being a streamer on YouTube. I mean, you're either a game streamer or you're having to really work to prepare the show. Then you got to like keep the show running, keep it interesting. I don't think that's for me either. I thought maybe do this. This would be different. Yeah, I think we do kind of hit topics. I think the topics kind of generate themselves. I think that maybe that's been the fun part, is we just see where things go organically, and then we just take the topic from there. I think that's what's been kind of fun. Like me, I I can't really follow all these movies. It's like, oh, another movie came out and it sucks. Like, fuck, I don't care. That's not a topic I want to talk about. I think one thing too is, what I appreciate what EBN is trying to do is just talk about entertainment as a whole, not just like, oh, we don't like this movie. Like they like to talk about things they do like, and reflect on things they've always loved. And I like that shift. I've been talking to Coach and how they're trying to like breathe new life into it. You know, we're talking a lot about that, like, you know, the rage content, and always venting and complaining about things. And even he was kind of like, yeah, you know, it kind of burns you out after a while, and it does kind of consume you, too. I mean, some people it seems to really kind of take them over. Yeah, people that bring us topics and they don't want their guests to actually talk about them, or bring up topics, don't want their guests to actually talk about them. Yeah. Oh man, what is it now, man? Whew. Okay, that finished. I wonder if I can do another series. I think I bumped the tripod, so I need to set up a new folder because these may not overlay correctly. I gotta wash my feet, bumping these tripods and all. And I should probably. I think I'm okay. I guess I've been following the newer, younger ones. And a lot of people pop up too. It's like I get all these weird recommendations. I was like, I'm not gonna. Nothing against them, right? I'm not gonna follow everyone just because YouTube's like, you should try. I'm like, no, I'm not. Sorry, YouTube. Do a quick battery swap here. When I'm doing out time lapses like this, once I see it hit the 50% marker, I actually just will do a quick swap. If I can get my hands on that battery, fucking hell. Come on out. Give me a second here, everyone. There we go. Okay. Power on the camera. I can put this dead battery in. And, you know, truth be told, everyone's got to start somewhere. It takes a while to get comfortable. I think some people, they just, but yeah, I think some people definitely just don't have it. And it's not a knock on them. It's just not everyone has the ability to flow well on camera. I would definitely agree that I don't always flow well. Some days better than others. But then again, too, as you know, I don't really come prepared for topics. Yeah, I think you talked about you want to do your shows more. I think you try maybe Rumble. I'm still on the fence about if I should like double post to Rumble. Just because I can't stand YouTube many ways. I periodically check my microphone, make sure it doesn't fall off. Hey, Twitch is just a shit show, man. I mean, the people they promote and allow to grow on there blows my mind. Apparently, people say you make more money streaming on Twitch, but it's like, well, I'm not trying to make a living streaming either, so I guess I don't care about that part. Yeah, some other creators have seemed to build up very, I don't say dangerous, but very unhealthy cult following. What was that? I missed that, Mars. I hate this live chat. My idea show was called Watch Me This, and it would be people turning into chat and joking conversations while watching other channels live. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you couldn't do that on YouTube because, yeah, YouTube's policy of like watching other live streams. Split the super chats with those channels. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a cool idea, but yeah, the way they are. And here's the thing, though. I've seen people stream snipe others extensively and not get hit for it. But then I've heard some people like just quickly like go through another person's stream, not even like sniping, like real brief, and get in trouble. Because the thing with YouTube that pisses me off, actually, no, this is pissing me off in general, not just YouTube, is when the rules aren't applied the same to everyone. That has always annoyed me. I was on someone's stream one time as a commenter. I wasn't a guest. I was just commenting. And they're talking about like the Epstein, not Jeffrey Epstein. What's his? I can't believe I forgot his name. Harvey Weinstein. Sorry, it's late. They're talking about Harvey Weinstein's conviction. People got in trouble, right? And then the subject came up of what's his face from Pixar. They got in trouble. Man, it's late. I'm forgetting everyone's freaking names. I'm here cold doing this photo shoot. John Lasseter. I cannot believe I forgot that name. So the thing about John Lasseter's case came up, and I had commented because someone said like what it was bogus or whatever with Lasseter getting in trouble. And thing is, I know people at Pixar, a lot of people, and I also know that in the Bay Area, a lot of women who have not worked at Pixar, they knew of a move called the Lasseter. So John was putting his hands on women, flirty and stuff. He had crossed the line. Now, someone said in the comment, they fired back at me saying, well, I don't believe it because he wasn't convicted or whatever. And I was like, no, what he wasn't Weinstein. He didn't commit a crime. And believe me, I hate, Lasseter was one of my heroes. It broke my heart when this story broke about John Lasseter. I didn't want it to be true. But he admitted to it. And I talked to a lot of women from Pixar. They're like, this happened. There was a movie called the Lasseter. So that meant when he walked in the room, if you're wearing like a skirt or something that revealed your legs, your knees, how they would like lean over or put like their books or the laptop over their legs to try to deter his hands from, because he would just kind of he wouldn't try to like up their skirt, but he'd put his hand on their knees. He liked to touch. So no, not as bad as Weinstein, not criminal. However, he is a leader. And he should be held accountable like any employee who had been fired for any of that. And believe me, people have been fired for a lot less from these companies. A lot less. And it's important because you got to set that example. It's like, hey, this violates policy. Is he a criminal? No. He didn't commit a crime, but unfortunately, he did violate a company policy. And I'm sorry, but I know of way too many cases of some people being allowed to get away with certain things that other people were not allowed. That always pissed me off. And it's just a point where it's like, okay, well, someone's finally being held accountable. Unfortunately, it was John Lasseter. And believe me, I don't like it either. Pixar in general was one of my heroes. Their early content, like a lot of us. I wish this never had happened. And I do agree that creatively, I think they were hurt after he was gone. It's too bad that went the way it did. But all employees up to, especially including the leadership, need to be held accountable equally by the guidelines of the company and the employee handbook. And he did break that. But doesn't mean he was Weinstein. So some people, I think it was like a WDW Pro or Valiant Renegade or something like that, chat. And some people got really fired up at me. And just saying, well, I'll believe it when he's convicted. I was like, he's not going to be convicted because he didn't break the law. Was he married? Good question. I actually don't know. It's quite possible. Oh, let's see. Was there a wife ever listed? Let's see. And he's a celebrity, so he would have a public profile. Was he John Lasseter? Yeah. Nancy Lasseter. They married in 1988. Children: Sam Lasseter, Bennett Lasseter, Paul James Jackson, and Joey Lasseter. Even more embarrassing, right? So yeah, I think it's getting back to the whole subject of like the rules need to be applied equally to everyone. And so when I see it doesn't, it really pisses me off. I know Weinstein's wife was implicated in a few of his schemes and divorced him shortly afterwards. Yeah, I never really followed the story about her. But you got to look at like something like Epstein. It's like, how can that much be going on? They're like totally innocent, right? She was fully aware of Harvey's schemes. Oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Not one bit. Probably brag like how much money they make, right? 'Cause, person you're with. You're gonna talk to about things. Who knows? Maybe she gave him ideas. Inspired some of it. That's only speculation. Wouldn't surprise me though. I think there's definitely spouses who are the innocent victims. They had no idea. I do believe that exists, but I also believe behind a lot of the worst con men was a supportive spouse, right? They say behind every successful man is a strong woman or whatever that is. I believe the similar thing behind every crooked con man was an enabling wife, just some extent. Well, not everyone, but not behind every con man, but I do believe it does happen. Can't say what percentage it is. It's like, yeah, mutual greed, right? If he's earning and she likes that he's earning, and she's going to encourage him ways to earn more because they get greedy. I saw something the other day on social media just made me cringe, thinking of like cringe couples. I don't know if you ever heard of Andy Elliott. He is the one of these motivational speaker super chads. Calls himself like the best salesman ever. He's the one that was saying, if you don't have a six pack, you don't get to work for me. She was an anchor for ABC, I believe. I'm not really sure. To be honest, I don't really know ABC's anchors. But yeah, Andy Elliott made a lot of he'd make a lot of dumb comments. He has kind of a cult following of people. But yeah, he likes to say, if you don't have a six pack, you're not going to work for me. He expects all his salesmen to have six packs. And he's all like, fitness defines who you are. Real super Chad kind of person. And he's made comments on like interviews. I could never imagine saying this shit. But like his wife's kind of involved with it, like a lot of the fitness stuff and the business and all that. And you look at like some of their social media posts, and the multimedia content, they seem really full of themselves. So I don't really consider her innocent that she's enabling them. But he would say stuff like in these interviews, he was like, I make sure that no man fucks my wife like I do. I'm like, who says that? Who the hell actually talks like that? But latest thing was he did something on stage where he brought his little girls out, like 9 and 12-year-old girls, and had the little girls show the fans, his supporters, their six packs. And he was talking about he how when they didn't have six packs, he told them that if they wanted to get a shopping spree, they had to get six packs. And so I guess they got the six pack, so he took them on a shopping spree, and he brought them on stage and showed off. And I was like, I don't know, like this guy's a problem in my opinion, but he's also being enabled by like as we were talking about his wife. I can't picture like a mother wanting her children brought on stage like that and having their six packs shown off and saying, the only way they can buy stuff is when they look good. I can't imagine a good woman wanting that for her daughters at all. It was that guy's stuff occasionally comes up. Well, not his stuff. Usually people mocking him or criticizing him come up. I don't follow this clown. I never would. But yeah, when you brought up like the wife, I can't remember when I looked this up. Because he made those comments about his wife, and I was like, man, is this like some sweet lady that's at home? She's just like taking care of his family, and this charming woman. And then I don't know what I saw on social media. It just seems like just the female version of him. I'm like, okay, so he's already an egomaniac, and he's being enabled by another egomaniac. And unfortunately, they have two kids. Got to have these people's parents. That shit's straight up traumatizing. Dude, I'm really surprised I have not seen a ranger yet. They were looking for someone earlier. They were on the other side of the park. I drove by. They're all walking around the woods with flashlights. Hope no one got lost or no one's kid. Yeah, it's psychological issues in later life. Yeah, it is. These kids didn't look like, these girls weren't, they didn't seem comfortable having to show off their six packs to this audience. That was probably the worst part. And a lot of commenters on the video I watched were just like, as a parent, that like if you can't see how uncomfortable your kids are, you should not be a parent. And that was actually pretty bad. The frog's out here having a good old time. Our tower done. Oh shit, I missed with that. Tile redone today. The roofer found bullets in our old tile. What the hell? Which tile? Like in the house? Someone shot the floor? Feels like it's getting colder after this next photo. I should check to make sure the lens isn't fogging out. Okay, roof. Oh, okay. Still, though, that's creepy as hell. How many do they find? Like just one or two, or like a whole bunch? Is that a place you've been in for a long time, or it could have been like happened from a previous owner or tenant? I don't know. They pocketed them. It's still weird. Definitely. Yeah, but people shoot guns around New Year's and Independence Day. Oh yeah, yeah. There's that. Yeah, that's pretty typical. The police do nothing. Probably don't know what to do. They don't know who's shooting the guns, or especially if it's all over the place. It sucks, right? It's like you want them to do something. Like, I don't want people running around shooting guns. Family lives here. It take a lot to get action. One of my old houses, we had a problem with people racing around in front of the house, and what made it bad was we lived literally across the road from a school, and I reported it to the city. I was like, it's happened a lot, and I said right where it was. Like, this is our address, which is directly across the road from this school. And so they inform us, like, okay, we're going to put up a thing. Oh, there it is. I'm going to check the, hope the lens is still good. All right, cool, no fog. This is not quite cold enough. It is cold, though. I'm not generating enough heat off the sensor either. Either way, I'm not complaining. Fogged up lenses suck. Take care of. But anyways, I was saying, so I complained to the city and the police. And so they decided to put down a sensor to monitor the traffic to see if my complaints held any weight. But did they put them in front of the school? that I pointed out in my complaint? No. They installed the sensors down the road near a stop sign. So after running it for a month, they report back. This is okay. We've been monitoring this area by this. They gave me the block, which was not where I told them, which is where the stop signs are at. We didn't notice any unusual speeding in the sensors. Sorry, we couldn't do more. I was like, what you could have done is actually put the freaking sensors where I told you to monitor the speeding. You're not going to find speeding by the stop signs. Of course, they never responded to that one. That was just irritating. Absolutely irritating to deal with. Oh, man. Get up and walk around or something. Yeah, 6 people have been watching me for, that's one of my longer streams. I'm not really doing shit except sitting here playing with my camera, doing long exposures, talking about random topics. Oh, man. It is getting cool, though. I should have put my sweats back on. My hiking pants on, which are kind of cold, though. Oh, man. This is chilly. Can't really... A little bit. Yeah, I'll probably wrap this up pretty soon. The long exposure stuff. I am almost seeing my breath, so it's probably getting down in the 40s right now. It's getting there. So I capture a couple more images. Yeah, I am having fun. All things considered, I am having fun. I haven't done anything like this in quite a while. It feels good to be back out. Trying to do something creative, something inspiring. I was just spending the evening just doing various long exposure photography throughout the park, but yeah, getting kind of cold. I have to go back in the van and warm up a bit. Might have to do that. Shiver me timbers, this is cold. Maybe stay online for a bit. But just, yeah, don't want to run the cameras much longer. I don't want to push my luck while the lens isn't fogging. It's an expensive lens. Hate to have anything happen to it, so. These 7200 f2.8 lenses, no matter what brand, are never cheap. They're just varying degrees of expensive. Some are more expensive than others, but they're all expensive. Now everyone just watch me sit here and freeze. Oh, man. Let me pop off one more shot, one more long exposure after this one is done. And then I need to actually give it a wrap. All right, there we go. Firing up the last one. I'm going to put the camera away. I might stay online for a little bit, but I'll stop torturing my camera. This new, I won't say intervalometer, but intervalometer-like device I got for my camera has actually been pretty handy. Neat little accessory. I want to talk about it more after I test it out, put through the numbers, but it seems pretty capable. Not sure if I'll ever be able to test out with lightning. That'll be a hard one. It's a so cameras. You get an accessory for cameras called an intervalometer. It basically you can use it for time lapses or for like long exposure for bulb modes. It's a remote shutter control, and a lot of cameras can do time lapses internally. So external intervalometers became less popular. The thing is, a lot of time lapse capabilities in cameras were very limited. So I found this little device. It looks like an intervalometer. It goes in the hot shoe of a camera. But unlike other intervalometers I used to use, where you had to like use this little dial pad to set like the duration you wanted to shoot for, this one uses a pretty nicely designed mobile app. But it allows you to do things like ramping for time lapses. So if you want to do like, daytime to midnight time lapse, obviously the exposure changes. You can put in ramp data basically to ramp the exposure settings up and down based on time of day. And it will control that for you. And it's got other advanced time lapse controls. It's got the flash trigger or the lightning trigger. What that is, there are devices out there for people who photograph lightning storms that when it detects the flash, it fires the shutter for them because it's too hard to sit there and try to like, click and catch a bolt of lightning. Trust me, I've tried. So apparently this little device supports that well. It's a very compact little device from a little company in Germany. It's randomly found on the internet. Seemed promising, wasn't too expensive, thought I'd give it a shot, ordered it. Never got any kind of notifications like shipping soon, it's on its way. And just one day, a few weeks later, it shows up in my mailbox. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't lose my money. And tonight's actually the first time I've used it. It's actually pretty effective. I'm actually kind of impressed with it. It is made by, it's a weird name. Give me a second here. I'm going to spell it because I can't pronounce it. ONNOA. So if you want to go to the website, it's onnoa.de. Onoa. That's probably not how I pronounce it. But anyways, that's the, I have a little mobile app. And app seems well designed. And the little device seems quite functional. It didn't seem like it was much. I took out the package. I was like, it's smaller than I thought. It's very light. And no idea, but what else it can do. So I'm still learning all the features, but so far it seems to actually work. It's weird because there's no power switch on it. They say allegedly it goes into a very, very low power mode, but it never turns off, and the app will detect it and signal to it to turn back on, which is interesting. Because there's really nothing else on the little device other than where you plug in the cable that you plug into your camera. And that's got one status light, and that's it. Okay, cool. That exposure's done. Let me double check the lens, make sure it's not fogging. I'd be very happy. No fog. And I'm not going to push my luck because this expensive fucking lens. All right. Yeah, I'd take it off the camera to show you, but the lighting out here sucks because it's dark out and you won't see anything. But it's a tiny little device I took a chance on. Yep, I definitely did kick the tripod. I can see how the scene's moving. I can give it a little bit of a swirl, not a big one. You know, I'll edit this tomorrow and just see if it turns out, hopefully. But yeah, I definitely can see where I kicked the tripod. Fuck. That's one thing I like, huddle up close next to my gear and I make dumb mistakes. Fucker, hell, what's the temperature out here in the park now? Come on. 43 degrees. Yeah. See, now it's actually getting the temperature where you would get fogging from the heat from the sensor. So I don't want to push my luck. I'm glad everything worked. I might have something. Ultimately, I would love to do is sit out here and shoot more frames so I could get a better, more material to work with the composite later. And then we'll come back this summer and try it again when the nights aren't as cold. But yeah, there's always that risk of fog lens. A condensation, actually, not fog, but condensation. Put everything away here. Or if I come back out, remember to bring a lens warmer. That was a big problem. Is I didn't bring my lens warmers. That's my fault. It does. It's just if you don't take care of your lens with lens warmers, between the heat coming off the sensor during long exposures and the cold on the glass, you'll get the condensation buildup inside the barrel of the lens. That is a bad thing. Really bad thing, actually. And then it's Fungus City after that one. That always sucks. Oh, man. When it's in the upper 40s and 50s, I don't really worry about it. Around the 50s is not bad. But yeah, now you're getting close to the 30s. Closing in on it, it's going to get into those conditions where you can get that condensation buildup. Okay, now where's my lens cap? I don't use too many solutions, to be honest. I will get like a lens clean solution. You can use isopropyl alcohol just a little bit. When use too much, I'll rub the coating off. But if I don't really need a solution, or if I do, it's a light dab on a Q-tip, and then you do a kind of a circular shape wipe with a Q-tip on the lens element. And clean that way. But yeah, all too often I'll use a blower first, and then I may use a dry Q-tip based on how the condition of the lens, and then then I might apply just a little bit of cleaning solvent like alcohol, but I try to actually get lens cleaning solvents and just use a real little bit, working from there. It's also my first time out with this new tripod. Not that I need another tripod. I can't show it in the video with the shit. It's a didn't need a tripod, but local camera store got violently robbed not long ago. People drove the car through the front window, busted in, just raided it, gutted their inventory. And granted, they have insurance and all that stuff, but still that hurts. So a lot of the local photographer groups just kind of put out the call, like, hey, like, let's show support for the local store. You don't have to buy a camera, buy a memory card, lens pouch, little tripod, or whatever, right? Just I'm sure they could really appreciate it right now. That's got to really suck, because anyone who gets into running a camera store can't be doing it to make a big profit. I would never run a camera store in a million years. Hell with that. So I finally was like, okay, and I'll do my part. And stopped in, and then can't show it what the hell, but it's a part carbon fiber, part alloy aluminum. So like the main legs here are carbon fiber, and then the rest of it's aluminum. So it's like lighter than a normal tripod, not as light, but it's hard to show in the video. But it really, when it folds up, it's really narrow. It's very compact for traveling. I looked at it, I was like, yeah, I've actually kind of wanted a little more compact of a tripod. So, not that I needed to get another tripod, got a shitload of them. But I wanted to help the little store out. And you could definitely see it, like, right after they got busted into, like, people were coming in there and buying stuff. You could see, like, the appreciation in their faces, like, thank you. Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with aluminum. A lot of people go full carbon fiber, and that's not, in my opinion, always the answer either. I think I like this one. It's like a mix of carbon fiber and aluminum. A little bit here and there to help drop the weight, but it doesn't. You don't give up some of the benefits you get from aluminum either. Plus, those full carbon fiber tripods, I see travel tripods are like $500-$600. And to imagine that thing breaking or getting stolen, I'd just cry at that price point. Ridiculous. Actually, some of the best tripods, I wouldn't say best, but most used that I've absolutely beat to hell over the years. I've used on so much. I still use them in my home studio today. I just put better heads on them. So I use the tripod legs. Are some of the biggest POS, low budget, Amazon, Chinese made aluminum tripods legs ever you could ever find online. But I have beaten the hell out of these things. I started using them in wildlife photography. Had them out in the mud, the dirt, salt water. The ones rusted in a few places. Speaking of which, have you seen the invisibility material YouTube's working on? No, I haven't. I have not seen that, actually. A second here. Interesting. So let me pull up the message again. Invisibility material. I didn't know people were still working. I guess it doesn't surprise me people are still working on that. Bends light when wet because of the tubes created. Interesting. So it has to be wet to work. Anything with invisibility is always interesting. It's always a fun topic. Oh, Give me just a second. All right, coming back. Give me a second here. Oh, I think I better wrap this up. Go with something warm. Oh, down to just a few people left in the stream. It's been going for a while now. Getting pretty cold though. I'm gonna go actually move around, I think. I'll read this last comment here. Tubes take in water which bends the light. They're trying to make it thinner so that it can be done via oxygen. Okay. Just like dead gauge isn't air lubricated because the wall thickness is so slight. Interesting. The engineering behind that shit blows my mind. Oh man. I don't think I'm gonna hop off the stream. I'm gonna walk around for a bit and warm up. I'm cold. I wasn't quite prepared for these temperatures. So, all right. Well, thanks, Mars, for stopping in. Thanks everyone else who stopped in this late at night. Completely random stream, trying something new, having fun. Hope you're all having a great weekend. I don't know if I'm gonna do this again the rest of the weekend. This is so random, but like always, it's a good time. I'm trying to make things different, original around here. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all again next time. Bye.